Rotary International is a well-known organization serving humanity for over 100 years. It observes the highest moral values in all its activities. Truth is on top of that list. Truth means what really is, or say, the only reality that can succeed meaningfully. One could also say it is the gravity into which falsehood must crash. Yet, tempted by short-term benefits, we yield to falsehood, losing our reputation, our capability, and peace of mind. Why is it? Is it because of distraction caused by legal loopholes, falling moral standards, or the sheer immaturity yielding to creative marketing? Truth Talks was started by Satya Vigyan Foundation to explore this very question. We invite those who have experimented a lot with truth in various endeavors of human life by sharing their experiences of the challenges they faced and how, by overcoming them, they gained enormous respect and credibility. Truth Talks will bring out that truth is the most powerful phenomenon in nature and not just a mere moral value or a legal obligation. We hope that even if we do not reach the North Star of perfect truthfulness in our lives, more truth will mean more peace, more trust, and more drive for excellence in our lives. I am Vallabh Bansali, co-founder of Satya Vigyan Foundation, NM Securities, associated with Flame University, Bharatiya Jain Sangatna, etc. I am happy that Rotary in India has agreed to collaborate with us for Truth Talks in recognition of our shared values. We will together bring Truth Talks periodically to Rotarians in India through the Odyssey. In this episode, I present to you one of the finest cricketers, Rahul Dravid, a role model, in conversation with the noted sports journalist Ayaz Memon. I hope you will find it enjoyable and inspiring.
Information for people who may not know, Rahul Dravid, former India captain, played for 16 years, 13,000 plus test runs, 10,000 plus ODI runs. A lot of people forget that. ODI runs.
Yeah, the ODI runs is obviously something that I'm actually quite proud of, in the sense that when you started out, as I just dreamt of being a test cricketer. That's what we did. Like growing up as kids in the sort of early 80s and 70s, as impressionable age, we all wanted to be Gavaskar and Vishwanath and Kapil Dev. They were all test cricketers. But I think the 1983 World Cup win really changed a lot of things. I think in a way it really sort of made you recognize that one-day cricket was going to become important and you wanted to be part of it. So having grown up not really practicing for one-day cricket, to be able to play that many one-day matches, actually quite nice.
When you were 10 when you watched the
10, yeah, and it was,
into cricket already by then?
Yeah, I mean, I love cricket from the time I can remember. Some of my earliest memories really are of my father throwing a cricket ball to me, or just playing in the backyard with my friends on the streets. And yeah, so those are my earliest memories. I just was cricket crazy even then. I think it was a decision maker for a lot of us in that generation as to what we wanted to do. And this is what we want to do. We want to be cricketers. We want to be Gavaskar and Vishwanath and Kapil Dev.
And that's the whole crop which came, isn't it? Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Saurav Ganguly, VVS Lakshman, all 9-10.
Yeah.
Watching this victory and then getting inspired.
Correct. I think a lot of us, and I've heard a lot of them speak about it, the kids around that age and that era were hugely inspired by that win in 1983. And it's funny, it's like the circle almost turns. In 2011, I could see my sons or my children sort of get inspired by Dhoni and that team and the team that won 2011. So it was fantastic for me to see. My son wasn't 10, but he was in 6 or 7 when the World Cup was won in 2011. But yeah, it was hugely inspirational.
So from the outside, I can see you come across as a man of great conviction about yourselves, your beliefs. They may end up being wrong, but you believe to learn and absorb from it and move to the next level. I'm going to just draw your attention to this, and this is what Truth Talks is all about. And I happen to kind of see this as I entered the Padukone Dravid Center of Excellence, where we are now, at the reception. And this is a quote which says, "When you play for the love of the game, you play with respect and humility." I took a snapshot of it. You play for the team and try for everyone who has made it possible for you to step out on the field. That's what sport is about, and that's what makes you a true sports person. The quote is Rahul Dravid's.
Yeah, I think sports obviously just more than just the winning and the losing. So it's a lot more than that. And I think as you play a lot more of it, I think you kind of, reflect on that a lot more. Yes, there is the winning and there is the losing and there is the financial benefits that you get from sport today and the life and the living that has to be made from the sport. But it's certainly more than that. I think, one of the great things of being able to play a sport for your country and to play a sport in a country where this sport is followed so much has, in a lot of ways made me kind of recognize, just I think the responsibilities you kind of have as a sportsman and as a cricketer. It's not just about the winning and the losing, but it's a lot more than that. I'm not saying that you have to be someone different or you don't have to be yourself. Well, I like I said, I'm not saying that sportsmen have to behave in a particular way just because they're sportsmen so that, they should be giving lessons to society. But I think you recognize that you have a certain responsibility, as a sportsman, in the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself. Because simply the fact that you are being followed by so many people.
And especially the young.
Especially a lot of young people, young boys and girls who follow the sport. And in a way, it's a privilege, right? You're doing something you love. It's really a hobby for you. It probably started out like it did for me as a hobby.
Yeah.
But just through doing what you do, I think you have a great opportunity to influence so many people. And I think with that comes, I think, a certain sense of responsibility. And I think when you sign up to play for your country and you're given that honor, you're given that privilege, then I think you sign up to that a little bit as well.
How did you take disappointments? You mentioned at the very start of this interview, 2007 World Cup, we didn't qualify. I mean, disappointments can shatter you or make you even stronger. Setbacks can make you stronger. If you have a long career, obviously there is succor you sought from or you got from failures, setbacks, disappointments. What was it in your thought process that made you, kind of cope up?
Kind of just look ahead. I think the way you view these disappointments is important. So, I mean, you're going to face them. For me, it was just about how do you, what can you learn from it and how can you move forward from it? What is it that, it's just, can't dwell on it too much. You can't play for a long time and then have everything go your way. It just doesn't work that way. Some of these disappointments actually help you to enjoy your success a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just, you say, I've gone through a tough time and I come out of it. So it gives you that satisfaction. I think I was kind of blessed with a kind of personality that tended to look forward a little more than look back.
Yeah.
So even, I always tended to think about, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
How can I get better? What can I, so that maybe it was a bit natural, came a bit naturally to me. I don't think I thought about it or sat down and said, this is the way I need to approach it. I don't know, when I reflect on it now, I think that right from a young age, I always seem to, what's next? If I failed in the first innings, how do I prepare for the next innings? I didn't dwell too much on stuff. So
but you were, in a sense, that method cricketer. You prepared.
Yeah, I was an introvert, but a lot of people said, "Oh, you think a lot and stuff." And yeah, probably I did think a lot, but at least I was thinking about the right things a lot.
Yeah,
I feel that I was thinking about what's ahead rather than what's behind. A lot of people I can find who, think back to.
So I'm going to ask a prickly question. That 2004, you captained one test in Pakistan, which we won, and of course we won the series.
Right.
We made 270 in the last match.
Mm.
Then we went to West Indies, and after 35 years, we beat the West Indies in West Indies. And we beat England after 21 years in 2007. And he just gave up the captaincy. I mean, Indian captains have given up the captaincy. Tendulkar has given up. Dhoni gave up in the middle of a test series. Gavaskar before that. But on the back of a series win.
Look, I mean, at that stage, I've answered this, I've tried to answer it well. Sometimes people find it quite tough to understand, but I just wasn't enjoying it. I'd been through, maybe I played a lot. Been a lot happening, so I just think that at that point of time I just really stopped enjoying the leadership or just captaining the team, and I just really felt that I didn't see the captaincy of India as something of my right. I saw it as something that I wanted to do if I felt I could really devote 100% of my time and energy, and I had that mental space to be able to do it. When I felt that wasn't there, I just felt it was not important. It was not right to keep dragging it along, trying to, do it for the sake of doing it. I wanted to do it because I truly loved it and enjoyed it. And
giving up captaincy is, power, prestige.
I don't know. It never felt like that to me, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like that to me. I mean, it didn't. I think it just Just
A lot of
felt like-
people would give an arm and a leg. to
I
be
mean,
a
I would have
captain.
given an arm and a leg to do it. To be honest, I love doing it. So there's no question of not saying that I didn't enjoy doing it. When I first started doing it, I did. But at that phase, after going through about 2.5 years of it, I just was mentally drained.
But also, it was a period of turmoil.
It was a tough period,
Tough
right? And
period,
then
so-
we didn't qualify for the 2007 World
World
Cup. So I guess in my own mind, mentally and physically, it took a lot out of me. Maybe just because of the period it happened in. And then when I didn't enjoy it, I just said, okay, look, maybe there's someone younger
Yeah.
who could do it, and someone else who can do it better, and who might actually be able to take this team forward. Well, the same thing with your retirement, right? You reach a certain age when you feel that, look, I can't take this team anymore forward. I cannot take it more.
Yeah.
Then to just hang on for the sake of it didn't feel right.
You had turned down an honorary doctorate degree from Bangalore University, stating you don't deserve it and will work hard towards sports research before being worthy of it.
Firstly, I'm very respectful of the fact and honored that they taught me,
Yeah.
so I don't want to, they thought me capable of giving me that degree. But I just, like I said at that time as well, I just, my mom actually did her doctorate
Yeah.
in art. And she did it at the age of 56 or 57.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
So, I...
So you got two doctors in the
Yeah, we do two doctors. So I saw my mom do that at that age. I saw her go through the whole process of doing it on. So she did it on Nicholas Roerich and his Himalayan paintings, and so she went through that whole process, and I saw that, right? I saw that firsthand, and then just to be given it because I played the game. I mean, I've got many rewards. I'm not refused other rewards that I've got for playing the game. I mean, I've got a Padma Shri, I've got a Padma Bhushan, I've got, I've got other rewards. I'm ICC Player of the Year, or I've got other rewards. So, but this just felt to me like I was getting something, in my opinion, at least. I'm not trying to be disrespectful of the people who get it. It just, again, it's really personal. It's a truly personal thing for me. Now, I saw my mother do it. I have to work through it, and I was just getting it for not really doing any. Didn't feel like work. For my cricket, I was getting other rewards, and I'm happy to accept it. So I just felt at that time I didn't feel like accepting it. Again, not being judgmental on anyone else.
Yeah.
It's just purely a personal viewpoint. Not trying to say that this is the way everyone else should do it.
So I want to get your point of view as a captain, which you were. Unfortunately, in my opinion, a very short stint in the sense of longevity, but a very productive one. What is the role of a captain as you see it? Should he be consensual? Should he be, this is the way I see it, and I've got great clarity of thought, and therefore, I know what I'm doing, and lift people who are, some fine performer suddenly it's a tough,
So I just think in terms of leadership, I think leadership's also changed today, and we talked about the millennials, we talked about young people and all that. And I think also leadership today can't just be about, I think the dictatorial form of leadership or the authoritarian form of leadership's, honestly, in my opinion, a bit outdated. You need to be able to carry people along. You need to be able to lift people along. I think so in the past, I think, information was something, or knowledge was something that was not many people had, and then they had the power. Today, I think with so much of information and knowledge around, everybody seems to have that knowledge and information. You're not special because you have some information, because everyone in your team will probably have more, and some will probably have more information than you. It's just about what you do with that information, and how can you bring everyone's information or everyone's knowledge, everyone's skill together harmoniously to be able to achieve something. So I really think that, in my opinion, leadership is really about, like you said, it has to be a bit consensual. It has to be about, bringing that group's collective knowledge or collective influence, collective intelligence to the fore for the best, for the best result.
So Rahul, just moving on to aspects of your career, and some of these may be kind of, more abstract, you might feel, but they are important to understand. So my first question would be, is sportsmanship important, or is it very contrived concept? From the outside, people feel sports persons must have a sportsman's spirit or sportsmanship in them. Is this how people within feel, or is it up to the individual?
So the whole basis of sports is it's like an organized activity with certain rules and regulations. I think that's very important. I mean, if everyone decides that they want to have their own rules and own regulations in a sport, it's not going to work. We're not going to see sport in the form that we see it. In that, of course, there's a broad spectrum of what you see as sportsmanship. that can vary from person to person. I think a certain amount of respect for the rules, respect for regulations, respect for your opposition, respect for spectators, respect for people who follow the sport. At a personal level, I think is very, very important because that really adds meaning to what you're doing. Otherwise, it just becomes too transactional, right? Then you're just playing it for the winning or losing or for the money. And it's almost like it's too transactional. I guess there might be people who might say that's all it is for me, and I'm not there to judge them. But I certainly do feel that, like I said earlier, I think you get more out of yourself and more out of the sport if you're willing to understand its larger role. And that's where I think sportsmanship, just plays a big role. Just like I said, just respecting the people that you're playing with and playing against. Having a respect for what is your role in the growth of the sport. It's not about just you. Like I think Don Bradman put it beautifully, when he said that you're just custodians of the sport for the time that you're in it. And then the sport is much bigger than all of us. And you have a responsibility then. If you see it like that, then I think you'll view the whole thing very differently. Rather than just saying, I'm here for 10 years, I'm here to win this series, this World Cup and make my money and go away.
It's a cynical point of view.
I think when you look back, maybe I'm a lot older now, so I think
is success in life a result of talent, and how much of integrity, temperament, transparency?
I think it's a combination of all of these things. You can't succeed in life without talent. There's no question about it. Like I said earlier, a lot of people I know who work extremely hard, extremely dedicated and disciplined, but have not been able to achieve success because they didn't have certain gifts or they didn't have some luck. So you can't dismiss that stuff completely. But I think to get the best of yourself, along with talent, you need a lot of these other things. Hard work, discipline to what you want to achieve, and integrity of your purpose. Also a lot of these things need to come together if you want to achieve long-term, sustained, consistent success.
After winning the Under-19 World Cup, you were a bit hurt that you got higher prize money and the support staff got lower or lesser prize money. And you asked for an equal division of prize money. So
my mindset really at that point of thing was the contribution was everyone's in the group. I think in a team environment, I was very respectful of the contribution of the rest of that support staff. I wouldn't have been able to create the environment. The winning was done by the team. I don't ever take credit for that. The team, Prithvi Shaw's team won the World Cup. We, as a support staff, did our bit to create an environment. That's all. And in that environment, I felt that everyone had played their part. And so I just felt a bit unfair that I was being paid a little bit extra. It was a more equitable way to do things and a fairer way to do things and the right way to do things, to be honest. Because everyone had an equal part in that environment. If I had been a player, when I was a player and I scored more runs than someone and I got the man of the match, it was a different story. It's it's a clear black and white performance. And you get that.
Smooth Talks is basically to draw out, the person who's being interviewed, their mindset, their understanding of their profession, life in general. Anything you have, suggestion which would make it more effective?
I don't know. I just think that having these conversations around some of the challenges in our society, just having, I think, more conversations around the fact that that you can follow certain principles and you can follow certain rules and still be successful and be able to acknowledge that you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn from those mistakes. I think it's really, really important. So, I'm not really sure what else you could do. But it's great. It's a great platform.
Lovely. That was splendid.
Thanks.
Wonderful speaking. Thank you so much. Thank you.